very fitting that George's memorial is like a vaudeville show, isn't it? How did that happen? How did that happen? My God, how did I know George Bettinger? When did I meet George Bettinger? It's sort of like 6 degrees of kosher bacon. My father was an accountant at Alberto's auction out. I'm pointing at George's brother there. I'm not speaking of the on Delancey Street. Bettinger's luggage was on Delancey Street, right? Rivington. Somehow my father used to visit. I'm not quite sure. But he'd come home and he would talk about Bettinger luggage and George Bettinger. Because I was the kind of kid, Fran talked about this, I was the kind of kid on my loose leaf. You know, most kids have loose leaves maybe with Def Leppard on it or something like that. I would go to the Lincoln Center Library, the 3rd floor research library, Xerox pictures of Al Jolson in blackface, cut out his figure, and pasted like a collage on my loose leaf. There were very few kids when I was growing up in Brooklyn in the 3rd or 4th grade that had Al Jolson on one knee. You know. He was the first one to take a knee, by the way. So my father knew that George and I were kindred spirits. And this is an era, Charlie, you're not going to believe this, there was no pagers, there was no answering machines, there was no internet. So my dad would take information from me and bring it to George, and George would say things to me and bring it back to me. That's how we communicated. We never saw each other. That's how we communicated. Because in those days, like if you want to see an old movie or a classic movie, you had to buy the Village Voice, which I don't think exists anymore.
Wow.
And go to the movie section. There's this area called Other Movies, and that's where you'd find out if there was a Laurel and Hardy film playing at MoMA or something like that, Buster Keaton at the Elgin. So I would tell him about things, he would tell me about things. He then had a cable show where he did all these characters like Groucho and Jack Benny, and I would watch it and tell my dad I liked his Jack Benny, I thought the Groucho needed more work. My father would go visit Bettinger luggage, tell him, he said, I'll try it. George would say, I'll try better next time, Bob. You know, we had these conversations vis-a-vis my father. It was interesting. There was a bit of a telegram situation, right? Telegraph, my dad was a telegraph, I didn't realize it. Now, George and I both had Joe Franklin as kind of our mentor. Well, he really was George's mentor. And it was interesting because we both would stay up late at night, 1 in the morning, to watch old movies and things like that. And it's funny because George and I really didn't get together until we were older, and we wound up at some private party in Long Island. He was doing George Burns with a Gracie Allen. I was doing Lou Costello, you know, with a Bud Abbott. And we came together there, and then I recall he had a room on the Upper East Side where he did comedy. I think it was an Italian restaurant. And he would book me there, and we would perform there together. He did a Curly impression, I did a Curly impression, and I think that night we did like a dueling banjos, but a dueling Curly, where the two of us were on stage, like, you know, that kind of thing for 5 minutes. So it was that kind of show. So, but the two of us, gosh, even we did the the Jolson Society booked us. Was that a year ago?
Yeah.
About 2 years ago. About 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we rode the train together. He wasn't feeling well, I wasn't feeling well, but I think we were still doing Curly impressions all the way, you know? So, my goodness, wow, yeah. So, but here's a story I want to tell you because it incorporates Joe Franklin, and it's something that George loved for me to tell. Actually, I told this story a few times to him, and he'd always ask me to tell it to him. I did the play The Jazz Singer. Are we all familiar with The Jazz Singer?
Yeah.
It was a Georgie Jessel play. It was a talkie with Al Jolson. Very famous. And we all know Joe Franklin was the king of neuralgia. I mean, the king of nostalgia, right? So I'm in the play at the Metropolitan Playhouse, The Jazz Singer. It's a revival. Joe Franklin comes. Nancy, you're out there, right?
Right here.
Right. Now, Joe Franklin, if anybody had Joe Franklin come to their shows, did anyone ever have Joe Franklin come to your show? Oh, very good. So you all can attest that he would just fall asleep. Joe Franklin would come to your show, sit down where everybody could see him, the lights would go out, the lights would come up on stage, and Joe Franklin. I think he went to the theater to sleep. I think he did a show late at night. I think that's where he went to sleep, at 8 o'clock. Anyway, so he comes to the Jazz Singer, and Nancy's sitting next to him. So every time I come out on stage, I play like a multitude of roles, you know. Actually, I was playing 2 characters, but it was a combination of different. So I was constantly coming on, doing something, going off, etc. Every time I came on the stage, Nancy, you used to elbow him, right?
Yeah.
Right. So he saw my performance. He didn't see the rest of the show. So the very next day, Joe calls me, and he was invited to that performance by the actor who played the Cantor, you know. And he calls me and goes, Bobby, I can't do as good an impression as George. Bobby, you were terrific in the Jazz Singer. You know, I want you to know, I have a tendency to fall asleep. Sometimes I fall asleep at these shows. I know, Joe. Yeah. But I was awake. I was awake by your loud, booming voice every time you hit the stage, and your vibrant personality. So I was aware, and I saw everything you did. I go, oh, thank you, Joe. You're like, oh, yes, very good, Bobby, very good. But I fell asleep at the end, and Charles, who played the Cantor, the father of the Jazz Singer in the play, says, Charles is coming today, and he invited me, but I fell asleep at the end of the performance. I missed the ending. How does the Jazz Singer end?
Oh no!
I said, Joe Franklin is asking me, how does the Jazz Singer end? Yes, Bobby, please tell me how did that end. You're asking me how. I couldn't believe it. I said, they all died, Joe. They all died. And Joe, Bobby, please, Bobby, please. And I'm coming up with all these different endings that couldn't possibly have occurred, you know, sex changes, all kinds of things. And all Joe was saying is, Bobby, please, Bobby, please. So George would often say to me on the phone, Bobby, please, Bobby, please. It was a great memory. He also used to talk about the fact that he and I and Jonathan and maybe a few others out there, kind of the last of the Mohicans in a way of this carrying on that showbiz tradition that Joe Franklin was kind of the end of the line to some degree. We've kind of taken the torch, you know. Hopefully Charlie, you'll take the torch further. Hi, son. So, it's, you know, I miss the guy. Let me just do a little Gleason and get out of here, okay? Georgie, what can I say but baby, you are the greatest. No!
Thank you, Bob. Thanks. Is anyone else freezing?
Yes.
Oh,
My nipples are hard.
I can hardly